Hello everyone, I want to talk about an application I developed over the course of the World Cup. The name is Fantasy Trio. I just want to talk about the processes involved in me developing this application. So it's a game, just like we have the Fantasy Premier League application. So I copied the style from the Fantasy Premier League application, where you select players and based on their performance on the actual games they play, you are awarded the point. The most critical decision I had to make was my source of data, because this idea to make it was born during the course of the World Cup itself. So I had limited time and I didn't want to spend a whole lot of money because just fun, just for fun. So I had to look for a way to minimize cost. So the only cost I think I incurred was the cost for deployment, because I use Railway to deploy. The technology stack I used was Go and Svelte. So Go for the back end, while SvelteJs for the front end. So I wanted to try something new. My main stack in web development is JavaScript. So I wanted to go into Golang to, because I've been doing some things with Golang. So I wanted to like put it in practice into a real world scenario. So that's why I use Golang. So I use the Golang standard library for the development of the application for the back end. I use postgress for database, and for the front end use SvelteJS and SvelteKit. Let's get into how I got my data. So for the players, the list of players, I got the data from Wikipedia page. The World Cup list of players. I just saw it in the Wikipedia page. I saw that I could get everything. So I implemented the web scraper to scrape the list of players on that page. So that was the easiest way for me to do it, because the other free APIs I was seeing, they didn't have the data in the accurate format I want. For the match details, I discovered ESPN. They have a public API for match details and every other thing that has to do with sports, every type of sport. Luckily for me, the World Cup was part of the tournament they had available. So there's a scoreboard API that generates or provides the list of details for every match that was played. So that made it easier for me to um to get the match details. So that was what I used. So it provided the goals, the goals in the match, the goal scorers, who had yellow cards, who played in the match, who was substituted in, some other varieties of data that was necessary for the application I was building. So the next step was to score the players based on the details and how they perform in a match. So because the data was not coming from the same place, the player list and the score or the match details, we had to use names to match the players and give them their actual scores. So, but we have to first of all normalize the name, because the way Wikipedia and ESPN might bring out the names might be different. So we have to normalize the names for, so let's say some French players or for Turkish players that might have some kind of um, symbols on the names, like, or the vowels. So we have to do name normalization. After that, we use the criteria for point awards or point awarding to give this player their total score. So we had scores or points for goals, for assists, for yellow cards. That's a point deduction for red cards, for own goals, and for appearances, and also had a criteria for um, goals scored by defenders, by midfielders, and by attackers. So with the help of a command, I was able to import the match details after every match. Now, due to how volatile the app would have been because of the short time used in developing it, and also getting the data from different sources, how to implement a safeguard for the allocating points. So there was a manual setup for allocating points to players just in case the automatic process fails for something like assist, because ESPN did not provide the assist provider. So I had to do that manually. Also, because of the name, sometimes I think the name might malfunction, because I foresaw, even though with the normalization, that the name might still be affected. Some players might not get their actual score. So that was one reason why I added that manual scoring. So those are some reasons why I added the manual scoring. And the manual scoring was always done, or and could be done by admin. So I was the admin, so I was able to um, allocate points manually. Now let's go to the authentication aspect of it. I wanted to implement a very simple authentication, so I removed the um, email notification aspect, and also did not want to use Google authentication, so I left that part out. So when you sign up, you go straight to your dashboard. But I figured out that that might be an issue, because users might want to change their password or update their profile. Yeah, so I for the password recovery aspect, I generated a token, that's the way you have it on your crypto application. So the token were used for password recovery. So when you want to change your password, you just put the token, you apply the token, and you are able to change your password. So when you sign up, you see your tokens and you save it. You are advised on the dashboard to save it somewhere because you might want to use it for password regeneration. So, but due to the to how small the application is for the time being, um, there was also an option to reach out to me to help you recover your password. But the token generation was a way to do it automatically without having to use email. So one thing to note was that I didn't start the game from the group stage. I started it from the round 16. So that made it easy for me to manage. Yeah, because of the manual scoring and other things. Yeah, so in the application you have something called the leaderboard that shows you who is on top and shows you where you are currently on the table. So prizes were attached to the players based on their perceived worth. For example, Cristiano Ronaldo had a higher prize than any average player out there in the system. You can't spend more than the budget you were given. But the system was very generous. $10,000 was able to get you even more. So it was also generous. Maybe in subsequent time, when I do something similar in the future, I might make it more restrained. Now let's go to the actual player selection. There are some constraints that I put in place. You can only buy 5 players, and you can't have 2 players from the same country. So you can't have more than one player from a country. So if you select a player from France, you can't select another player from France. For example, you cannot have Olise and Mbappe in the same team. You must choose a forward, a midfielder, a defender. So you can decide to have a goalkeeper. You can the remaining 2 players, after choosing the forward, defender, and the midfielder, can be an extra forward or extra forwards, or extra midfielder and an extra forward, or a goalkeeper, whichever way you want it. So that's some of the constraints put in place in selection of players. Now I made the system in such a way that you only trigger the API to add players on the back end when the 5 players have been selected. So we store the states in the browser so that we won't just be hitting the API multiple times to just add one 5 times. So I made it um in such a way that I could save cost. Now remember, I implemented a fail safe system whereby we could add points or score players manually. So only an admin could view that page on the front end. So it's called the admin points page, where the admin could score a player for, let's say, for example, when there's an assist that needs to be recorded. So that page could only be viewed by the admin. That's where our role-based asset control system came into play. So we have the normal user role and we have the manager role. So the manager is like the admin that manages the whole system, which I was, and the player, the users, normal users, the just the basic player in the system. I also implemented a view where other players could view the teams and the scores of their opponents. So, for example, me as a player, I could view the score that other players have. So you could see how things were going, and if there was an error, you could call the attention of the admin to that error. Yeah, so that's why I did that, implemented that. So the way to follow up with not just seeing the scores of what other people have, but just seeing the breakdown of the scores of other people. So basically, that's the rundown of my fantasy World Cup system or game, if you want to call it that. Yeah, so in future, I might want to improve it in areas of player selection, especially. So we have graphical representation. Because it was a drop down that we used to get players or select players, but using the FPL format, they should, when you select a player, you see the graphical representation in a like a formation based style, and that's a very very nice way of representing data. So I might want to implement such and make it the whole system more appealing, because this is like a form of a game, so make it look something closely related to a game. So that's where I might take it to, instead of just making it more of text and forms. Yeah, so that's it. And I urge you guys to look forward to my next project that I'll be coming up with. Yeah, and you can reach out to me on any other platforms if you have projects that you want to handle. If you have ideas that you want to like iterate on, any other things, you can reach out to me. And if you want to follow my story, my vlogs, my videos, you can search me on YouTube, you can search me on Instagram, you can search me on LinkedIn, you can follow me on LinkedIn where I post career posts. Yeah, so my handles will be displayed on the screen and on description also. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching.